And one. Here we go. We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for showing up to the Provoke Coach podcast. I have with me a special guest today, and, it's been a while. We were catching up a little bit, kind of before today's call and today, before today's, broadcast. And, it's been a long time and really kind of too long. We used to have such a good time together, helping mold people's lives, running businesses, sales, and operations. So I am blessed to have Antonio Troisi. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you being on today. Antonio, I'm going to kind of really jump right into it because, there's a lot of people that are listening in, they're tuning in, or they will later, and they know who you are. They know our connection and kind of how we grew up in business together. But why don't you kind of tell everybody who you are and what it is that you do for business, kind of in the present day?
Cool. Thanks for having me, Clint. You're amazing. I love what you're doing. And I'm humbled that you would even ask me to come and speak to anybody in general. My name's Antonio Troisi, and I am the founder and CEO of Treatment Addiction Solutions. Treatment Addiction Solutions is a consulting company and/or digital marketing company that has a niche market in the behavioral health field. So, it's not just healthcare, it's this little niche market in addiction services when it comes to people that struggle with alcoholism and drug addiction or any type of addiction in general. The things that we do is we can build programs for people. We've done that before. We kind of we can do licensing, we do revenue cycle management, but our bread and butter and our brick and mortar of what we built the company on is kind of the digital marketing aspect and controlling managing assets on the digital landscape that provide an avenue for people to be able to reach out to in a comfortable way to be able to ask for help. It's not an easy thing to do. But that's what we're really good at. And I have, 20 reps that work 7 days a week that answer telephone calls, answer chat boxes, and answer emails for people that are reaching out for themselves or a loved one that are looking to change their life, really whatever they're struggling with. And
I want to stop you really quick, Antonio, not to interrupt, but, let's kind of explain to people kind of the critical point of why your company not only is so successful, but why it's so important and critical for somebody that's going through, addiction and going through this challenge. Why is that connection with the place that they need to go to and the potential client that you have? Why is that so critical? Because it's an important thing.
Yeah, so it's rare for. I'm an addict. I'm an addict that's in recovery. So the area and opportunity for someone that's going to actually reach out for help and actually extend a hand and say that I need help. I don't know what I'm doing. It's real. It's like stepping on thin ice. You know what I'm saying? So you have to be willing. And the great thing about it is because I've been through it. Most of the people that work for me are in recovery and have dealt with this before. It's easy to talk to. So, I can hold their hand. My staff members can hold their hand and walk them through it because we've been through the process ourselves. And, as of today, everybody has a screen in their hand, whether it's a phone, whether it's a laptop, no matter what it is. It's simple to be able to go on there and Google something, Bing something, search something and kind of look for help. And, when I needed help, 10 plus years ago, it wasn't that simple. It really wasn't. I didn't know that there was even resources out there like that. I had to go to a state-run facility, and I had to kind of, stand in a line and kind of tap into whatever resources and ask for help from my family or friends. And it was kind of like a referral, kind of like that it would be for a doctor or something like that.
Right.
And that's not necessarily what's best for people that are struggling, is putting them into a lockdown institution. You know what I mean? Because you don't want them to feel like they're being a slap on the wrist or locked up,
right.
Or they want to.
Well, and who would really want to do that anyways, right? Like that's like saying like, okay, I'm sick, I need help. Let me go to the cheapest, most affordable. Maybe they don't have all the resources. Let me just, that's like trying to find a mechanic that, do you kind of know what you're doing? Yeah, come on. Let's give my car a look at, right? Like it's so critical that handoff is so seamless in making it easy for that process to be done, because people are losing their lives, and because that process is difficult. So now we know kind of what we're even talking about here. How is your company different? Because I know it's really competitive. And what are some of the things, I guess, that have happened to make it so competitive? Because I know you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah. Why is it so competitive? Because especially now with the pandemic and the lockdown and everything, the overdose rate is up 32% since it was prior to the lockdown. So more people than ever are using substances to try to escape, to try to numb, and people that have mental health issues in general, they tend to self-medicate, right? So then, one of the worst things you could ever do is force someone with mental health issues into their home to have to stay there and not be able to, because what it does is actually exposes the routine that you have, right? And if you don't have an ironclad routine and your systems aren't on point, but the one thing is, it's like it's legitimately playing Russian roulette. In this industry, it's when everybody says when you lose, and losing and failing can be the best thing that ever happened to you. But when you lose or fail, when you're playing Russian roulette with alcohol and substances, it's your life that's on the line. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's super critical. It's super critical, and it's very scary. You know what I mean? Especially with the drugs and stuff that's going on that, these days within synthetic drugs, you could think that you're getting something, and you're absolutely getting something that's totally not. And it's, it's a hot shot, it's a hot bag, it's a hot pill, it's even a hot drink, and even marijuana is being laced with terrible drugs these days. And it can send you straight to the loony bin or, to the casket. You know what I'm saying? So it's
and let me ask you, your company, because I know that you were with another company before, and now you developed your company. What was it, I guess, about the industry that made you kind of say, hey, look, I need to do this myself? Is there certain things that are different with your company and how you guys manage it and market it than other industry, competitors out there?
Yeah, man, we have, we like to tune into the people that actually are reaching out for help, that have taken the step to reach out for the help. And we have, many different avenues for them to be able to do that. But we key in specifically with that. But another thing that we really do really well is we do community outreach, we do business development, and we kind of tackle all the ancillary services that are attached to the behavioral health field and sector, right? So it's not just you marketing and getting people, to provide them with the services that can help them. Then it's we take it one step further, is when they actually get into the center itself, is us being able to come to those, business owners that are running these facilities and making their business run like a fine, like a well-oiled machine, because the better that they run, the more people you can help. And that's what's amazing about this industry, is right? Yeah. The better you do, the more people that you can help. And the fact that you can make money while helping people is like a gift from God, man. It's like,
right.
Right. And you know what it's like, because in the fitness industry, it's the same kind of concepts, right? You get out of it what you put into it. You know, you have to build an ironclad routine. You have to stick to it. You have to do things that you don't want to do. Right. And then those things that you don't want to do end up becoming things that you love to do because they make you feel good. Right. They make you look good. Right. They make you sleep well. They make you think well. You know what I mean? And then it makes the other people around you better. You know?
Yeah.
Just super attractive. Right. Which
so
is kind of what you do.
Right. Yeah. Well, and I guess, you know, so what you're saying is that you're really more, not only do you do a good job at helping people find help and giving them the right resources to be able to do it, but you're really scaling that and multiplying that. So you're taking maybe, you know, a center in a business that's not doing the things that you're talking about, the outreach, the community, and you're getting them to do the more, I guess, offense oriented play to run, right? Rather than just defense, let me wait until somebody calls, then we'll go pick them up and we'll get them in. You know, you are teaching them to go out there and actually prospect, right? And find those people in the community to try to drive that business in.
Yeah, and which is crazy is that you helped me do that in the other industry. You helped teach me how to prospect and get out there, shake hands, kiss babies, and get in front of people's face and let them know who you are and what you provide and what you can do for them. You know what I'm saying? And it's go ahead.
And that's how you build trust, right, Antonio? I mean, because you know your business is completely built around trust. I mean, you're literally being trusted with somebody's life, right? Like if that center messes up and they don't do what they were supposed to do, it really could be somebody's life. Maybe not now, maybe the next 2, 3, 4 times that they give it a shot. Now let's talk about, you know, the bad part of business for a second, because anybody that knows this game, they know that there's some bad apples out there in this business that take advantage of things like insurance companies and really kind of play this whole gamut and game. You know, have you been able to really eliminate a lot of that going in and helping these other businesses? Have you found any of that or?
Yeah, I mean, you always, you know, you have to see and know what the bad apples are doing in order for you to be able to kind of pivot and build an infrastructure so that you can stay far away from it. And there's always going to be people that exploit stuff like that. And that's why I was keen more on building commercial call centers and digital assets instead of you people being guerrilla marketing on the streets, right? Because when you're doing the face-to-face and hand stuff, and that's all you're doing, then you tend to have people that want to take shortcuts, right? And when you take shortcuts in this industry, it's the people that you're trying to help that are affected the most, right? So you don't want them to think that they can use their insurance card as a credit card and just pop around whatever the passcode, you know what I mean? Get out of jail free card. Let me just get off the streets and get into a place. Let me clean up real quick just to go back to do what you do.
Right.
No, man. Right. You can't do stuff like that. You got to stay far away from it.
And I would imagine, you know, because of your experience with all of this and your experience with business, right? Sales, marketing, operations, like you have like a double-edged sword that you're really going out and really kind of teaching these people, because you're right. Guerrilla marketing really in any business, if that's all you're doing, then what are you going to do? If you're not going to reinvest in the systems that are really going to make the future better for everybody, right? And help out your potential clients, you know, you're really losing out. So you've been able to kind of take that and then add the two together to kind of create your company then.
Yeah.
Is that what?
Yeah, 100%. And then, I mean, say stuff happened like the pandemic or the lockdown. What are you going to do for guerrilla marketing when you can't be in front of people anymore? You can't knock on doors. You can't do that. So you have to fall back on some of your other, you know, assets and the other things that you're really good at, you know? And which is the digital landscape. It's huge.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Well, so talk to me, I guess, a little bit about the future? Because I mean, number one, I mean, you're kicking ass. I mean, you're very successful in business. I know you're opening up, multiple centers in areas, maybe some down here in Florida and some other areas as well. What's the future looking like for your company right now?
We're actually in the process of a large partnership with one of the largest behavioral health providers in the country. And, that in itself is a gift. The more people that you can reach in more states, and you're across nationwide, and you're not stuck to just one region, one time zone, and one area. Anybody that can calls in, and that's the whole idea of this is that anybody that reaches out for help, that I can have the ability to be able to get them help, no matter what their financial situation is, no matter what their demographic is, no matter what their geographic is, no matter their age, gender, or creed or religion, is that we can put them into a facility that gives them the best opportunity to be able to get what they've always wanted, and it's freedom from active addiction and alcoholism.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So you really want to be able to take what you're doing now and obviously scale it quite something large. But you said some key components, right? You said, it really doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter what resources they have, because one thing that is certain, they have a challenge that they're dealing with, and those people need to get help, right? It doesn't matter. None of the other stuff matters, but right now it kind of does in the world. It's like healthcare, right? Like it really does matter what healthcare you have. And this is something that's so critical. So that's the future of your company. Now, obviously branching off to be able to do anything else within the realm. What do you like most, I guess, about, your company now that you're building? I mean, besides just helping people, what do you kind of see as far as evolution with your company, or even with the industry or business?
The evolution is just what I said, but it's also to be able to build programs that offer and that accept all types of insurance, whether it be state funded, whether it be Medicare, Medicaid, whether it be, in network or out of network, private pay or whatever, is to have those resources to be able to help people out. So it's not just about having and creating cookie cutter models, right? It's about creating facilities where you can meet the client where they're at, right? And not, that means everybody's going to be different, right? So you have to be able to have, a smorgasbord worth of resources when it comes to, especially when you're dealing with people with mental health issues, just like myself. I went to about 15 treatment centers before I went to the last one that kind of made it all click. Made it all snap. So you never know when that's actually going to happen. And, I'm no one hit wonder. Right. I come from Philadelphia. Right. So I got like that Rocky mentality. Right. It's not how many times you get knocked down. It's how many times you get back up. Right. Right. And it's just, it's a scary line to kind of tread on when you're dealing with something that can take your life, that can take your family away from you, that can take your health away from you, and that can leave you, isolated, alone, and miserable. Right. So what we really want to do is, my dream is to own our own set of treatment centers so that we can kind of, take the financial situation away from it and kind of just pour in the resources and just give people so much love, right? That they don't want to go anywhere else, right? That they understand that they found their tribe, right? It's not easy, right? I could tell you this for sure, right? Is that, when I came into recovery, it flipped my whole reality upside down. The things that I thought, I wasn't supposed to do, I came into recovery and they made me understand that everything was going to be okay. Like just hugging another male, right? Or talking about my feelings, right? Like I come from an Italian family from Philadelphia. It's not like something you do. You don't just talk about your feelings. It's like a sign of weakness, right? So for sure. and to talk about God and your spirituality and stuff like that. And, it's very uncomfortable, right? But through uncomfortability, you find growth, and you can become and
100%.
blossom into someone that you never thought that you ever would be, or somebody that you always wanted to be, right? It's not easy, you get out of it, like I said before, what you put into it. And in order to get something you never had before, you need to do things you never did before, man. And you gotta walk through it. People can hold your hand and they can point the right direction, but no one's going to do the work for you, right?
Yeah. 100%.
And people can go into treatment as well and just get dry, right? They can dry out and turn out and be the same exact person when they leave, or end up just being even more miserable because you took their coping mechanism away from them.
Right. Right. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
No pun intended. It's about provoking them to be the best person that they can be. Right.
Exactly.
And that's, through health, fitness, and wellness, and, the program, whatever you choose, and a spiritual relationship that can kind of get you to the next level. Because addiction's all about, it's a self-centered disease. It's an egotistical disease. So once you realize that there's something out there that's way bigger than just Antonio, and way bigger than just Clinton,
100%.
You're already in the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I guess, that kind of leads us to, okay, so now we know the vision of what you want, and you want to be able to really provide the same awakening, but with the business skills that you've learned over the years. And because you've been in, 10, 15 of these treatment centers, and you've been around so many of these people that have had these challenges, and you've seen people get better and why they get better. You've seen people not get better and why they didn't get better, and what mistakes were made along the way. And sure, you're right. You have to be strong yourself. You have to realize it's not just a dependency issue. It's a mental health issue that you need to go through and you need to fix first. Where did all this come from? Let's rewind now, Antonio. You said that, you're from Jersey area. Is that right?
No.
Philadelphia.
I'm from Philadelphia. That's totally different.
Right. Yeah. I know. Yeah. I'm just messing with you. But look, you're from the Northeast. You grew up in an Italian family. What was it like? How did this come about? To where you're so successful today?
Well, I came from a single parent family. I grew up without a father. My single mother, 4 children, all on her own, trying to navigate life. So kind of me and my brothers and my sister, we kind of just, walk through life trial and error. That's why I'm not afraid to lose. I'm not afraid to fail, because, when you live a trial and error life, you kind of get used to it, But I kind of found out at an early age that I was different. Right. I was different in the sense that I knew that I was addicted to things that made me feel good. And in the beginning, right, it was food, right? It was good grades. It was the applause on the field. You know what I mean? It was my mom saying, "I love you, great job." It was the girl telling me she liked me. You know what I mean? It was the nice new shoes. It was stuff like that. So the addiction portion started way back, way before I even ever picked up a drug or alcohol in general. Right. So, but I just knew and that I was different, and, growing up without a dad, you kind of lean on, other people. You kind of have different type of role models and stuff like that. And my role model and the person that I leaned onto and the person that I wanted to be like was my grandfather. Pearl Harbor survivor, father of 4. He was a jack of all trades. He was like MacGyver. He was a truck driver, but yet owned, a beauty salon. Like, who does that, right?
Right. That's awesome.
He fixed watches. He was what do they
entrepreneur.
Yeah, entrepreneur, but he could do it all. If something broke, he fixed it. He didn't pay for someone to come over and do it. He figured it out himself, right? So he's the person that I wanted to be like. And at an at an early age, I gravitated towards him, and I didn't want to be or be around or be even like my father, who now I have somewhat sympathy for, because I could tell that he has mental health issues that were untreated as well, right?
Yeah.
And hurt people. So, you know, when you grow up with physical and mental and emotional abuse and spiritual abuse, you kind of have to become somebody, you know, just to survive, right? So at a young age, I had to build up the outside. I had to build up my armor, you know, and I had to become, you know, that hardened person in order for me to stay protected, right? So that's how I kind of got into the gym, and kind of and in order for me not to see my father, I dove into sports. So, like, you know, I was never available to be able to go because I was stuck, you know, doing sports, and then, you know, which kind of go hand in hand. So then I want to be the best. I want to, I want to get the applause. I want to be, and then I kind of always fell into like the leadership position because I was vocal, because I was hardened, you know, and I've been on my own for a long time. So I didn't really need, you know, coaches and other teammates to kind of, you know, steer me in the right direction. I always kind of just took the head, you know what I mean? And it just kind of ended up making me the person that I am. But I could tell you that the moment that I picked up alcohol for the first time, it was like that warm hug, that warm sensation, like that love from my father that I never got, you know? And you don't know that you need or want something until it's like not there, until you kind of do work on yourself and you kind of figure out what makes you tick. So like that warm feeling kind of made me feel like everybody else. It made me more, you know, it made me more talkative. It put my guard down.
Real. Yeah.
Put my guard down, and it kind of gave me the ability to be able to kind of, you know, level the playing field, you know, and I loved it. Yeah. And I loved it. And I kind of chased that feeling, and for a really long time, until it got to the point where, you know, I just didn't want to feel at all. Right. So, you know, whether something really good happens, you want to use. If something really bad happens, you don't want to feel, you know, and you kind of find yourself in this really messed up tug of war, you know, and you don't really know what's going on. And you kind of think like, why am I broken?
Well, and I want to talk about that for a second, because, you know, for a lot of people, you're right. You know, it could be addiction, you know, that they use as a coping mechanism, right? Something to numb them. But also what people don't understand is it doesn't have to be drugs and alcohol. It doesn't always, you know, it can be something like food, as an example. That's a very easy one, you know, that I've seen. Yeah, video games. It could be anything. I mean, social media, you know, to this day, you could be just scrolling and you're just numbing reality of what's going on. And, you know, that's why with a lot of our clients, getting them to be present is extremely hard, because they're always in this world, whether they're getting down on themselves and critical of themselves, or like you said, you put on this armor and you just become a high achiever. See, high achievers have challenges, you know, and you and I spoke about this yesterday, like this all the time, because whatever it is, you know, whether it was a parent or somebody that wasn't there giving that love, like you said, right, that warm sensation, they put up armor big time. And guess what happens? Usually they do become a leader or a boss. They do become a high achiever. And a high achiever means a peak performer. That means they're always going at 100 miles an hour. You know, now you've taken a lot of positive away from that, Antonio. Would you change it? I mean, even though, you know, no, not at all.
No, not at all. I feel like I was fortunate enough to live a couple lives, man. I was, you know, and that's why I'm able to wear a bunch of different hats at once, you know, and you don't really know, you know, how great you have it now if you didn't come from something before, you know. The trials and tribulations made me who I am, right? You know, 100%. and if I didn't hit rock bottom, I wouldn't have been able to build a firm, strong foundation on bedrock and not sand in order for me to have the things that I have today. you know, and the important things that I have today are different from the things that I thought that I wanted before. Right. So it's not the house, it's not the car, it's not money in your bank, it's not the clothes, it's not the jewelry, it's not the toys, it's not stuff like that. It's freedom, right? It's happiness, it's joy, it's being a leader and being a positive influence. And the best thing that I could have, you know, none of that would have happened, and I wouldn't appreciate the things that I have today and where I'm at today if I didn't go through that. And the best thing, right? If I didn't go through that childhood without a father, right? Yeah. I don't think that I would be the great father I am today, right? Yeah. I knew what I knew what I shouldn't do, and I knew what I couldn't do, right? And then I had someone that I wanted to be like my grandfather, that could do no wrong, that was like the man of man, the men of men, and it was like the alpha's alpha, and he was just he was like, oh, you know what I mean? I knew what I didn't want to be. I had an indicator of what I wanted to be, and hitting rock bottom and being able to be, you know, just rip all the armor off and just be skin and bones, right? Makes me appreciate how hard I had to work in order for me to build up the person that I am today, right? And like I said, the CEO and the founder and all that stuff, they're great titles for some people, right? But the most important title that I could have is like being like a father, like a Christian dad. It makes me want to cry, right? It makes me want to cry because, like, you know, I could never 100%. Have that. I could never have, you know, this comfort, you know, and the ability to be able to kiss and love on my, like, you know, I don't come from an affectionate family. I wasn't like kissed on and loved on and stuff like that. But if you saw me with my children, bro, for sure. Any chance I could get, I'm trying to, you know, I want to give them what I knew the little boy didn't have, right? That he always wanted, right? Because I grew up in the lion's cage, man. And then you tend to turn into the lion, right? The king of the jungle, you know, even though you don't want to be, because deep down inside, I'm just a gentle giant, man. You know, and I was told that by one of my first grade priests, right? He spoke tongues on me. He put his hand on me and he's like, la, 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 and spoke tongues on me, like got snapped out of it and told me, like, man, you're a gentle giant. I was like, what is that, man? You know what I mean? and I was like, I'll take the giant part, because, like, if I'm a giant, I can win 60% of the battles without even fighting, right? Without even getting into the game, because you just don't want to mess with the giant, right? But really what I wanted was, I want to be that gentle soul. I want to be the person that's gonna love you and continue to love on you no matter what your mistakes are, no matter what your faults, your trials and tribulations are. I just want what I didn't have, you know what I mean?
Well, I gotta tell you that
I wouldn't change a thing, man. I wouldn't.
Well, and I'm glad that you said that, because I knew a different Antonio when we first met. Mm-hmm. I knew this lion with this set of armor on, and this, you know, this powerful being, which was great because I'm looking at a high performer on my team. I'm looking at like, oh, I give this guy the ball, he's gonna, wow, this is fantastic. But I also saw another side of you that is totally different than who you are now, right? It isn't the father. It isn't, you know, the significant other and almost, you know, husband. It isn't, you know, the Christian man that values and is building this kind of empire of giving back. So I want to let you know that there's a lot of us out there that are probably going to watch and listen to this right now that are extremely proud of the man that you have become. And, you know, I'm saying that from the bottom of my heart, really. And I'm saying what other people are probably watching going right now. They're like probably going, God damn, that's Antonio. Look at him. Listen to him. Because that's the one that we know that has that type of passion, but for the right things. Right. And that's super, super powerful. Now, what provoking moments, I guess, really kind of led to you finally, you know, giving up that part of your life and really starting this part of your life? What was it? You know, what provoking moment led to it? Can you kind of tell us a little bit of the story? Because you'd been in treatment a few times over. You'd know the game. You know how it works. You know what was happening and going on. What happened that made you finally just, you know, take that change and make
So Italian families, like holidays are huge, right? You know, family is everything. So I never didn't spend a holiday with my family. And due to my addiction, I spent, you know, Christmas Eve and New Year's by myself. Which was, it was tough. It was just me and my addiction, right? And it was probably the loneliest and the saddest I ever did. And it was probably one of the only times I've ever wanted to die, right? And I was okay with looking death in the eye and accepting it, right? And then my girlfriend at the time was pregnant, you know, unbeknownst to me, and you know, we were going through turmoil and whatnot. And, you know, my job, my bosses over at in the fitness industry kind of just saw me as like just that, like the high performer, the person that could just drive numbers and drive business and stuff like that, but not really what it was doing to me. Right. And that my track record was, you know, for almost 10 years in a row, I would crush it for 9 months out of the year. And then 3 months I'm in treatment. Right. And by the grace of God, I made it to treatment, and I would make it back out. And then they would just give me everything that I left, anything that I wanted. Oh, you can have that salary. You can have that position, whatever club you want, Antonio, just go back in.
Yeah.
It was more about numbers instead of like me being well, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally well. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, 100%.
What happened was I was in the gym one day and I saw my cuz, and he just had a kid, and he walked into the gym with his girlfriend and his baby mom. And he just had this aura about him. He just looked different. He just sounded different. And he just seemed happy, joyous, and free. And I was like, bro, where did you just come from? And he just told me where he was at. It was all the way across the country, on the other side of the country, 3,000 miles away. And, you know, and the things that, just to tell you how out of my mind I was, the things that he told me that I keyed on, he was like, oh man, there's Sub-Zero fridges. There's a professional chef. And like, they're the things that I keyed on. I'm like, wow, bro, I would love to get fed amazing food. I never seen a Sub-Zero refrigerator. You know what I mean? And just, he just felt different. And it took a couple days for me struggling even more and coming out of my stupor for me to reach out to him like, hey, bud, like I want to go to that place, man. Like, I don't know what it was, but I think I need a shot at this. And, you know, not even 3 hours later, you know, I'm on my way to the airport, just, you know, and I literally valeted my car at the airport, never saw it again. I went into treatment, right? I got my last paycheck from LA Fitness, and it helped me, you know, pay for a storage unit, but I had to give up all my possessions. I had to give up my house on the lake and everything that I worked so hard to build. I gave up the fiance. I gave up everything. So I literally was like, you know, in order for me to really just get this, like I need to struggle, right? So there's only one way to be able to do that. I just gave it all up, and I trusted in my higher power that he was going to be able to provide for me. And I knew that I had a tenacity, right? And I knew that I had that performance in me, right? So if I was able to just kind of channel that into something that was in the right direction, it was not fitness related. It was more towards, you know, it was at the point where it was either like get right or get left. And when I mean get left, I mean get left behind. Get left in a grave, get left in a cell, get left in an institution. Like, I didn't want that for myself. I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to be a business owner. I wanted to be clean. I wanted to be an inspiration, right? So I went through that treatment center and kind of was willing to take any and all suggestions. And coming from someone with such a big ego and someone that is a high performer, you know, that kind of goes, like it was tough for me, but I was willing to like take a back seat and have somebody else kind of tell me what to do. And it was so freeing. It was, you know, I couldn't tell you how crazy it was that you find freedom in waving the white flag.
Yeah.
So you kind of give up, but you get everything in return. And it was just like amazing to me. And the first thing that I leaned on was my relationship with my higher power. And I realized like my God never left me and he never let me down, and that I could always tap into that. And I got back, building that relationship. I got back into building the relationship with myself, which was the most important one, because you tend to beat yourself down. You can really beat yourself down, and so I had to put down the bat from beating myself up, and I had to kind of forgive myself first. And it took me talking to God and trusting in God and trusting in some other people that have already paved the way for me. And so I was out there and I found out in treatment that my fiance at the time had an abortion. I found out the gender was, a boy and whatnot. And those things that before, if I was left to my own devices in the streets, would have crushed me and probably crippled me, instead fueled me. And made me want to change what I did, and I wanted to help people in a different way. So I got, at 60 days clean, I got a job at that treatment center, getting minimum wage, answering the phones, and I went back to sales. And it was just like, I'm pitching hope now, right? Instead of pitching health and fitness or selling some tangible, item that I don't believe in, or a service that I don't believe in, I'm selling, recovery. I'm pitching recovery. And I took that and that same performance aspect and that go-getter and that number one, thought process towards this. And within a short period of time, I became the director of outreach, and I became the director of admissions, and then I was asked to become a partner, and I was a key administrator into building 3 programs, right? And then I became like a folktale, and so these kids were like, and it was crazy because I just got a phone call from one of the counselors and one of the sober coaches that used to stay up at night with me when I was struggling. We would read Proverbs and we would talk to each other, and he would kind of help me through my stuff. And he literally just called me, and when he became a counselor, I was able to help him get that job to become a counselor and tell all of his clients, like, look, you could be just like Antonio. You know Antonio? And they're like, yeah. They're like, you know that he was a client just a little while ago, and that he got a job, and that he did this and that he did that. And it gave people some hope. And then it gave me the ability to be able to tap into that resource, which is these people that just came through the program are still going through the program, that are looking to change their lives. And you give them the ability, you give them hope, you give them purpose, and you give them meaning in helping other people. So one of the best things ever was giving back, giving these people jobs and positions where they could give back to other people, and watching the light bulb go off in their head and watch them start to tackle all the things that they've ever wanted in life. And that and it's selfish. It's selfish because it makes me feel good, but it's also selfless at the same time, which is that, it's that pendulum, it's that tug of war, you know what I'm saying? And it just
but that nice warm feeling, right? That hug, that dopamine hit. It's a different. It hits different now, right? Because you know that this final hit, right, is taking care of everything else, but your focus and your relationships are there. And you're right. I mean, now you're a father, times 2. Yeah. So you know what I mean? And you know what I mean? Now, I mean, it's a whole totally different story. Wow. Yeah. What a fantastic story, man. Well, look, I got a couple other questions for you. I guess, anybody that, whether they're having addiction problems or mental health, problems, issues, challenges, and maybe they don't even know they do, but something's just not right. What advice can you give to them, essentially right now, that you've learned, in your journey?
You're not alone. You're not alone. And it's not a weakness, right? What I found out, which I thought was detrimental to me, and what I thought was a con, really ended up becoming a superpower. Right. Yeah. So as long as you can take those abilities and you can channel them into the right direction. So like growing up, it's like, here you gotta get prescribed the Ritalin because you have ADHD. It's not like just ADD, right. You have ADHD, right? And you can't pay attention for more than 5 minutes. You're the class clown. You're this and that. but like those things that used to be, and like I used to think like it was bad to talk about your feelings, and it was to admit that you have mental health issues. That was like, no, you don't do that. You don't want to do that. I could tell you now that it's amazing that you can speak on that behalf, and that you can be a guiding light and even a lighthouse to these other people that are in the dark, that are on choppy waters, that can't get out of the storm, but they see that, oh my, he did it, so why can't I do it? Right? So just to know that you're not alone. You're not alone, exactly. and there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you, right? It's not bad, right?
Exactly.
And if you actually take time to ask for help, and you dive deep and you look at the person in the mirror and you start stripping away the armor that you built up and these things that keep you away from the person that God intended you to be, oh man, you're going to have a life behind your wildest dreams. But I can tell you this also, is that I fall short on a daily basis, right? I pray every single day for God and my higher power to remove my character defects and my shortcomings, to dumb them down, and for me to be more of the person that I want to be and the person that He intended to be. Right. So like, just know that you don't have to, this isn't a perfect program, right? This is exactly, this is an easy program for difficult people, man. And you can kind of get in where you fit in, and there's a tribe of millions of us out there. So don't feel like you're alone. You're not alone. You're
absolutely
not.
Well, and like you said, it is a superpower, right? It is, this disguised superpower and ability. I mean, look how it shaped your life, right? Look at what had to take place and what has to go on. And, it's like I tell a lot of people that they're struggling just to really get going with something or to take that step, is that, uncomfortable, feelings that's when growth begins. That's when you start to really break things down and then building them up. That's definitely a whole nother battle. One other question that I have for you, Antonio, before we get off broadcast, what advice do you have for business owners? Because you're running a very successful business. You're scaling fast. You're growing rapidly. I think I know the answer, but what kind of, advice do you have for business owners right now that might be struggling, as well?
The same thing. It's kind of the same concept. It's like, you're not alone, and ask for help. See, I'm not a specialist at anything, but what I'm really good at is I'm a social butterfly. And what I'm really good at is finding people who are, right? And then surrounding myself by those people and building that tribe. Like, right? People, I tend to think that me and my team are like the treatment Avengers, right? And I'm just Captain America, right? I'm not the most powerful one, right? But these other people, and it's kind of like Steve Jobs says, it's like you hire intelligent people so that they can tell you what to do, right? Exactly. It's like, I'm not the end all be all. Surround yourself by people that are better at it. And it's the same concept, exactly what you're doing, brother. Right?
Yeah.
Is you can bring in someone that might be a lot more fueled up and a lot more experience in these other niche areas that you're not so good at. So you ask for help. You reach out to them. You surround yourself by people, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Right? Mistakes is the best learning process. Right? I can tell you that I've failed so many times, and I continue to fail on a daily basis. Right?
Exactly.
But I don't give up. I don't give up, and I continue to ask for help, and I continue to surround myself by other people that have already done what I want for myself. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So if I'm struggling in sales, I'm going to reach out to people like, Clinton Mansfield, because you're exceptional at sales, right? So that's the thing. Dumb down your ego, ask for help, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. And another thing is, don't you ever give up. Right? You have to have that tenacity to be able to walk through life, trials, tribulations, failures, losses. They make you who you are, right?
That's 100%, dude. Wow.
People only talk about the wins. Talk about the wins, right?
They don't ever talk about the struggle. And you're absolutely right. I mean, because, it shaped a lot of the things, and you're absolutely right. They are so similar, right? Is you're not alone. Like, people sometimes they look at their situation really up close and they can't see anything else. Their focus is just on their bad situation. Well, guess what? There's millions of people in the world, billions of people in the world. And a lot of them have some of the same challenges that you and I do every single day. And you're right, you're going to fail. The minute that you start to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and failing forward, that's when the fun begins. Yeah, 100%. Well, Antonio, look, dude, we could probably do this for another hour and a half, and we're going to have to do a part 2 to this because I know the numbers. We're going to lose some people here pretty quick, even though you gave us so much value today. So 100%, we appreciate everything that you've given us today. And I'm going to have you stick around just for a couple minutes as we end the broadcast. And just everybody else, hey, look, if you like Antonio's story, if you learned from it, if you took a nugget away, or even if you didn't, share it anyways. Somebody out there needs to hear this story. And remember what we do, with Provoke Coach Podcast, I created this opportunity to really share provoking stories of people that had to really pivot and had a provoking moment that really shaped their life to really how successful they are right now. So like Antonio said, if you need help, reach out. And you aren't the only one. And don't be afraid to put that ego aside, especially in business, and find somebody that's better at something else than you are. So remember, provoke positive change and peak performance in people and yourself. And we will talk soon.